Hello, and welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of the history of Spain. Hope you enjoy. The strategic marriage of Queen Joanna, heiress to the newly unified crowns of Ferdinand II of Aragon and Isabella I of Castile, to Philip the Handsome, son of Maximilian I, the Holy Roman Emperor, laid the foundation for a significant shift in European power. This dynastic union consolidated territories and influence and resulted in a huge empire. Upon the death of his grandparents, Charles inherited the vast and diverse Habsburg territories, becoming King Charles I of Spain and, through election, Charles V of the Holy Roman Empire. This unprecedented personal union brought together the extensive lands and resources of Spain, including its burgeoning overseas empire and the decentralized Holy Roman Empire. The resulting concentration of power in the hands of Charles V dramatically altered the political landscape of 16th century Europe, setting the stage for conflicts and alliances that would define the era. The Italian wars of the 15th and 16th centuries comprised a series of conflicts fueled by competing claims for hegemony over the fragmented and prosperous Italian peninsula. Entangling numerous Italian city-states alongside major European powers like Spain, France, and the Holy Roman Empire, these wars were driven by dynastic ambitions and the allure of Italy's wealth. The Treaty of Cateau Cabresi in 1559 ultimately concluded this era of intense struggle, solidifying the dominance of the Spanish Habsburgs. This treaty effectively ceded control of significant Italian territories to Spain, including the Kingdom of Naples, the Duchy of Milan, and the islands of Sicily and Sardinia, thereby reshaping the political map of Italy and establishing a period of Spanish influence. The Ottoman Empire's conquest of Constantinople in 1453, which marked the fall of the Byzantine Empire, interrupted the spice trade by giving the Ottomans control over key land routes. This disruption spurred European countries to seek alternative maritime routes to Asia. An Italian navigator, Christopher Columbus, believed he could sail west to arrive at the Indies, where the spices came from. However, he lacked the funds. After several attempts, the Spanish monarchs finally funded his expedition. On August 3, 1492, Columbus set sail on 3 ships, namely La Pinta, La Niña, and La Santa Maria. After 2 months at sea, on October 12, 1492, he arrived to the Bahamas archipelago to an island he named San Salvador. He made a total of 3 more voyages and established the first permanent European colony, La Isabela, in the island of La Hispaniola. This set the stage for European expansion into the New World. By 1494, both Spain and Portugal had started building colonies. To avoid conflict between the two powers, Pope Alexander VI issued several bulls, papal proclamations, to divide the newly discovered lands. Portugal rejected these since they favored Spanish ambitions. Consequently, the two countries agreed to a pact called the Treaty of Tordesillas. In it, Spain and Portugal consented to divide the world along the 370 meridian west of the Cape Verde Islands. However, the Moluccas Islands on the Pacific Ocean were not defined by Tordesillas. Hence, the Treaty of Zaragoza was signed. These 2 treaties established the division between the Spanish and Portuguese spheres of influence. The arrival of Columbus into the New World and news of rivers flowing with gold sparked the colonial era in the Americas. Hundreds of Spaniards, called conquistadors, came to this new world. From the conquered islands of Cuba, Hispaniola, and Puerto Rico, expeditions were led to the mainland. Hernán Cortés spearheaded the force that led to the overthrow of the Mexica Empire. He entered the Yucatan Peninsula in 1519. The fall of the empire's capital, Tenochtitlan, in August 13, 1521, brought about their demise. It was later renamed Mexico City. Another of the most famous conquistadors was Francisco Pizarro, who led the invasion and subjugation of the Inca Empire. In 1532, Pizarro arrived at the Inca Empire that had been marred in a civil war over who would rule the empire, and founded the city of Lima. This conflict weakened the empire and made it susceptible for conquest. After the emperor's refusal to submit to the King of Spain and convert to Christianity, he was seized and executed. Even after his death and the capture of the capital, resistance would continue until 1572. The vast region was renamed the Viceroyalty of Peru. There were several other famous explorers. Ponce de Leon sighted Florida and claimed it for Spain in 1513. Francisco de Coronado discovered the lands that are now in the American Southwest. Vasco Núñez de Balboa was the first European to see the Pacific Ocean in 1513. Spain became a world empire holding lands in the Spanish Peninsula, Austria, parts of Germany and Italy, Belgium, Holland, the Americas, the Philippines, and parts of northern Africa, as well as all the lands west of the Mississippi River. It became the fourth largest empire in world history. The colonies were divided into viceroyalties, which were New Spain, New Granada, Peru, and Rio de la Plata. The Spanish Golden Age was a period of flourishing arts and literature in Spain, generally stretching from the late 15th to the late 17th centuries. Coupled with the height of the Spanish Empire and the influx of wealth from the colonies, this era saw the production of timeless masterpieces by literary giants like Miguel de Cervantes and Lope de Vega, alongside iconic painters such as El Greco and Diego Velázquez, leaving an indelible mark on global culture. Despite political and economic challenges, the Golden Age solidified Spain's cultural legacy, producing works that continued to be celebrated for their artistic innovation and profound insights into the human condition. The Spanish Inquisition was a powerful judicial institution established in 1478 by the Catholic monarchs, Ferdinand II of Aragon and Isabella I of Castile, to maintain Catholic orthodoxy within their newly unified kingdom. While its stated purpose was to combat heresy, it also served as a crucial tool for consolidating royal power and enforcing religious and social conformity across the Spanish Empire. Its most notable targets were Jewish and Muslim converts to Christianity, often suspected of secretly continuing their former faiths, but it also pursued other perceived threats to Catholic dogma. With the political rise of the Austrian Habsburgs and the vast influx of colonial wealth, the Inquisition significantly spread and intensified its reach, utilizing brutal methods of interrogation and punishment across the empire. In 1578, King Sebastian I of Portugal died in battle. Henry I, a cardinal, succeeded him. He had no heirs, and consequently, when he died, King Philip II of Spain saw the opportunity and laid claim on the Portuguese throne. This was called the Iberian Union. This brought Portugal and all of its colonial possessions under Spanish Habsburg rule. This started the Portuguese Restoration War that lasted from 1640 to 1668. The war ended with the Treaty of Lisbon in 1668, which also re-established Portuguese sovereignty. All these new territories in the New World did not come without a consequence. The Anglo-Spanish War of 1585 to 1604 arose from a confluence of religious, economic, and political antagonisms. Protestant England, under Queen Elizabeth I, and Catholic Spain, under King Philip II, were engaged in a struggle for dominance. English support for the Dutch revolt against Spanish rule, coupled with the pillaging of English privateers on Spanish shipping and colonial possessions, led to hostilities. The conflict was characterized by significant naval engagements, most notably the Spanish Armada's failed invasion of 1588 and sustained maritime raiding. The Treaty of London in 1604 formally concluded the war, largely restoring the status quo ante bellum. The conflict enhanced England's naval prestige and contributed to the gradual decline of Spanish maritime supremacy, marking a crucial phase in the ascent of England as a global power. In the Dutch Revolt, also known as the 80 Years' War, 7 provinces of the Low Countries, which were predominantly Protestant, rebelled against the repressive rule of King Philip II. This war lasted from 1568 to 1648. The conflict was driven by both religious differences and the desire for greater political autonomy from Spanish control. In 1588, the United Provinces asserted their independence and became the Dutch Republic, eventually gaining formal recognition from Spain with the Peace of Westphalia, which concluded the long conflict. In 1618, a conflict erupted in Europe, which pitted the Catholic League, Alliance of the Catholic Powers, against the Protestant Union, Alliance of Protestant Powers, known as the 30 Years' War. As a Catholic power, Spain sought to defend the interests of the Catholic Church and the Holy Roman Empire against the growing Protestant forces in the conflict. Spain initially allied with the Catholic League and the Holy Roman Emperor Ferdinand II, providing military and financial support to their efforts to crush Protestant rebellions. Spain's involvement in the war was driven by its desire to maintain its influence and power in Europe, as well as its commitment to the Catholic faith. However, Spain's participation proved costly and contributed to the decline of its status as a major European power by the mid-17th century. In 1700, the childless King Charles II of Spain bequeathed his throne to Philip of Anjou, grandson of Louis XIV of France, sparking widespread alarm across Europe. The prospect of a Franco-Spanish union threatened to upset the delicate balance of power. To counter this, Austria, Great Britain, and the Dutch Republic formed the Grand Alliance, supporting the Habsburg Archduke Charles's claim to the Spanish throne. The ensuing War of the Spanish Succession concluded with the Treaty of Utrecht in 1713. While Philip of Anjou was recognized as King Philip V of Spain, the French Bourbon dynasty was compelled to renounce any future union of the French and Spanish crowns. Crucially, Spain was forced to cede significant territories, including Naples and most of Milan to Austria, Sicily to Savoy, later exchanged for Sardinia, the southern Netherlands to Austria, and Gibraltar and Minorca to Great Britain. After the war, Philip of Anjou became King Philip V, and thus the Bourbon dynasty began. The Bourbon monarchs who began ruling in Spain in 1700 enforced the Bourbon reforms. These aimed at centralizing power and strengthening the authority of the Spanish crown. The Bourbon kings sought to reduce the power of regional and local authorities, while also limiting the influence and privileges of the Catholic Church. Economically, the reforms aimed to modernize Spain's economy, improve infrastructure, and boost productivity through changes to taxation, trade, and the colonial system. The Bourbon monarchs worked to spread Enlightenment ideals in education, science, and culture. However, the reforms faced resistance from various social and political groups, leading to ongoing tensions during the dynasty's rule. Despite initial neutrality, Spain joined the 7 Years' War. This decision, however, would reshape its colonial empire. Initially, Spain maintained neutrality, but growing concerns about British power and pressure from France, with whom they had a family compact, eventually drew them into the conflict in 1762. King Charles III of Spain decided to enter the war on the side of France, leading to conflict with Great Britain. This involvement resulted in an attempted invasion of Portugal, a British ally, and battles in their colonial territories. While Spain suffered losses, notably the capture of Havana and Manila by the British, the Treaty of Paris in 1763 resulted in Spain ceding Florida to Britain but receiving Louisiana from France. Thus, Spain's participation, though brief, had lasting territorial consequences. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for part 3.